Thank you for joining me. So today we read 3 chapters with a similar story, and I'll just start with highlights from, or like a summary of some of the lessons that I learned. And I'll start with John the Baptist, where it started. So John the Baptist was apparently in prison for calling out some serious incest. Now I found out that this incest was deeper than we thought. So Herodias, who was married to Herod, so Herod was married to Herodias, and Herodias used to be his brother's wife. Now, history has it that Herodias is actually the great-granddaughter of Herod the Great, which makes, get this, both her husbands her uncles. Yes, let that sink in. Yeah, so John the Baptist was not just keeping quiet on this one, he was calling it out, and she didn't like it. And she used her daughter to carry out her plan to have John killed. So her daughter eventually became a pawn in John the Baptist's death. And I'm thinking, what kind of mother are you? Like, that lady she must have been a piece of work. Anyway, moving on to the feeding of the multitude. Now, Jesus feeding 5,000 men minus women and children. So that means it must have been many Bible scholars say that it's over 5,000, right? Was a demonstration of him doing the miraculous in the face of the impossible. So imagine having a crowd, let's just even safely say maybe of 10,000 people, and having to feed them. Like, remember that Jesus and his people, they didn't have jobs, they weren't rich, they didn't have, faced with that kind of impossibility. But guess what it was? It was 5,000 plus people who experienced the miraculous as a result of what Jesus did. Amazing. So now, even though he asked his disciples to be the one to feed them, right? He was the one who took the fish and the bread and broke the limits off of it. Most people believe, or actually my pastor, as Paul, shout out to you, taught us that when he broke the bread physically, he was spiritually breaking the limits off of it, and that means what? Limitless. So which is why I just kept multiplying. So he actually started first by giving thanks to God, which was very significant. Another thing that stood out to me was that after the feeding, there were 12 baskets left over. Now, could this have been for each of the disciples? I know it's significant. I'm not quite sure what it represents, but 12 baskets. So perhaps it was for each of the disciples for the rest of their journey. So each of them had, like a basket full of fish and bread to tide them over. Who knows? But then, more than that, those 12 baskets stood as evidence of a miracle that had happened. Great. So now, going on to Jesus's walking on water. So now he walked on water for a second time. The disciples and him experienced a storm for the second time, and then he walked on water on this storm. And let's remember the first time with the storm we read, I think day before yesterday, and he was asleep on the boat. And this time, he was asleep on the boat, they called him, he woke up and he calmed it. But this time, he walked on water to meet them in the midst of the storm. And Peter, who appeared to be the bravest of them all, requested for him to come out of the boat and meet him on the water, which he did. But he eventually started to sink when he took his eyes off Jesus and looked at the storm, which actually revealed that maybe at that time his faith was still a bit fragile. But nevertheless, the whole experience convinced all of them, because at the end of the day they were like, yes, this truly is the Son of God. Now here's my hashtag getting to know God lesson. God is always in the storm with us. Every storm we go through in life, God is there with us. Whether we think that he's in the boat asleep or he's walking on it, but he's there. Like Jesus was with his disciples. He could be right there in the boat, just waiting for us to call upon him. Or he could be right there walking upon the waters and beckoning us to come to him in faith. And unlike Peter, let's not take our eyes off him, but allow him to lift us above the storms and walk us through it. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something significant, amazing, and I hope that learning about God and getting to know Jesus even more through his word is impacting your life positively. I look forward to sharing lessons with you here tomorrow, God willing. So please join me. God bless you. Bye.